Hey guys, want to say hello to you as we get started. I know that there will be some bumps in the road here as we all are kind of on a learning curve, but I'm excited to at least get to continue working with you guys because I would say I miss you. I miss the daily interaction. I miss the chance to kind of work on stuff in the classroom and continue to get to know you. So I'm glad we get to do something. I'm glad that we get to work on this a little bit together, even if it is in a different way through online, technology and everything. At least it's something, and I'm thankful for that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting a new unit on the Enlightenment. And the reason for it is we want to push forward into some of the major political changes that take place in the modern West. And we want to be able to set the groundwork for that. We want to be able to understand the American Revolution as it happens, and then after that, the French Revolution. And as far as we may be able to get going forward, we do need the Enlightenment era as a foundation for it. So we kind of just finished talking about the American colonies, as you'll remember, and now we want to start to look back at European culture and some of the philosophical movements that were happening in Europe, and starting to filter outward from there to impact thinking around the globe, but of course in the American colonies as well. And that's going to be important to us going into the American Revolution. So we're going to be talking about the Enlightenment, and we're going to be talking about these political movements that come out of the Enlightenment. Now, I do have enlightenment in quotation marks here because it's a little bit of a misnomer. The men who are involved in this movement actually call it the Enlightenment. They're pretty happy with themselves, and so they name their own movement the Enlightenment. And so there's reason to be a little bit skeptical of the naming, at least, of this movement, but there's no doubt that it has impact. It's a very impactful movement. And one of the major things that happens here is Enlightenment thinkers are going to be kind of coming up out of this scientific movement in the era that just precedes it. And what they're going to start to begin to do is apply scientific principles to many walks of life, to many questions, to philosophy of economics and politics and all kinds of questions that we might usually think of as the humanities, but they're going to try to take kind of a scientific approach to figuring out what is the best way to organize an economy or a government or a judicial system, or really just about anything. Even the approach to history will change because of it. And so as we're going forward, we into the Enlightenment, we actually have to settle for just a second on what we might call the scientific revolution. Now, the scientific revolution is also kind of one of those things that you want to put in quotation marks, because the truth is, the word revolution might be kind of too strong. It's true to say there's a blossoming of science, a lot of scientific progress in this era that we're going to define sort of roughly as 1500 to 1750. There's definitely an uptick in scientific progress, but it doesn't mean there wasn't science before that. I often find that students kind of get that a little bit mixed up. They think, oh, that's when science started. Now, that's when science becomes prolific, perhaps, but it's clear to say that science predates that there's science going on in the ancient world, and there's science going on in the Middle Ages. It's just that some things are going to shift. If we are to use the word revolution here, maybe it's because there's going to be a big shift in really important models for understanding the universe or understanding how things work. Models like the Ptolemaic system are going to go by the wayside and be replaced by Copernicus. And you could call that a revolution for sure. There's definitely philosophers of science who have said as much. But even the scientific revolution itself is going to find some of its roots in the ancient world. One of the reasons for this shift is because during the Renaissance, there was more and more interaction with ancient manuscripts of Greek views of science. They're interacting more with Aristotle and Archimedes and Plato. And a lot of that's happening here is they are able to translate them and interact with these works that they're kind of discovering. And one of the things that ends up happening is they realize not everybody actually believed Aristotle's thinking or trusted his thinking on everything. The Dr. Galen from the ancient Greek world wasn't necessarily universally thought of as being correct, and so this kind of freed them up. In the era that we're going to be talking about, they realized, oh, I don't have to agree with Aristotle. I don't have to simply accept without question what Plato has to say, or Archimedes, or Galen, as I said before. And so they're going to begin to question earlier models that really hadn't been questioned for ages. And so that's one of the sort of lasting impacts of the Renaissance, is these new questions of old models that are coming around. Now, another thing that's going to be happening here is there's going to be the new ability to ask these questions. That's essential. Having the question is one thing. Being able to sort of effectively apply those questions and try to answer those questions is quite another. There's going to be new pieces of technology, new avenues in mathematics that are going to help them to test these old models and these old theories. And some of the reason for this new technology in math actually is tied to shipping. And we've talked about the shipping around the world as the Portuguese are working their way towards the east and the Spanish are working their way towards the west. And more countries are getting involved in trade. They want to be efficient, and they want to measure things accurately. And so sailors and business people are really working on innovative technology to try to support their endeavors. And what ends up happening is those actually are helpful to them and helpful to others, maybe we would say scientists, as they begin to ask questions of older models. Some examples of this technology might be the really world famous ones like the telescope and the microscope and the printing press, which makes it possible for ideas to be shared across continents really quickly. But others might be as simple as a chronometer, where sailors could use it to measure the passage of time accurately while they're out at sea and figure out where they are in the world. Beyond that, we're going to have some breakthroughs in math. We have Francois Viette, who's going to be kind of laying the groundwork for trigonometry, and Simon Steven, who's going to be bringing us the decimal system, or John Napier, who's going to begin kind of inventing tables of logarithms. And these are really kind of the tip of the iceberg, or they're breaking the ice, maybe is a better way to say it, for new breakthroughs in mathematics, as people like Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo, and then Sir Isaac Newton stands out as one who will use new innovations in math to question old models. And that's going to be a really big step. They're going to be able to test Ptolemy's understanding of the universe and the solar system using mathematical principles. So new technology and new math is going to be very, very helpful in that regard. So today my goal is just to sort of set the stage for what we're going to be doing. We are talking about the Enlightenment, but to do that effectively, we have to see what's true of the scientific revolution first. And to understand the scientific revolution, we have to see that there's breakthroughs in technology and mathematics that will be laying the groundwork for really kind of giants of science like Copernicus and Kepler to make progress on understanding the universe and the world around us. So I do want to make sure you understand that there's a little bit of a response I'd like you to do. Just find the sheet here that has this link and look at the bottom. There's a little bit of a student response, just keeping track of things that are new to you, things that you might have already known, and keeping a running list of that will be helpful as we kind of go day by day in this, trying to take one step at a time to kind of understand very fully the implications of this Enlightenment era. So I look forward to interacting with you. If you have any questions, please make sure you get a hold of me. You can email me or you can use Teams to contact me. And I'm excited to be able to interact with you more now that we've had this little hiatus. And so let me know if you need anything from me and I'll be happy to help.